처음 참석해 보시는 것이죠?
네.
영화제 그래도 몇 번 상영하시고 하셨는데 어떠세요?
아무 기분도 지방 모르네요. 원체가 좋고 나쁜 걸 잘 분간 못하는 사람이라.
그래도 극장에서 이렇게 관객들하고 같이 영화 보시고 하셨던 경험은 또 어떠세요?
그냥 생각 없이 그냥 앉아서 구경했어요.
알겠습니다.
그런데 13살에 아무 생각 없이 그냥 무동질하는데 얘기도 안 하고 그냥 떠나서 가보니까 그러니까 시방마라를 위한 거라 그럴까?
At nakiiwan man kami nga tatlo. Bulus-bulusan ka. Ay ako kay Hubin pa. Natabo sa akong ganyan ka man. 14 years old.
结果的都开好的，我晓得，回来下生个产我，第二年第2年才回来。
我不想知道我妈妈的事情，他不告我，我就不说了。
If I can tell my children all about it, I would be very happy if they will accept what I was, what happened to me.
생각을 하니까 위안부가 죄가 아니라 내가 죄가 아니다. 지나오기 시작해가지고 이거 아니겠다. 같이 싸워야지. 일본 사람이 거짓말 하지 말고 진짜로 나서 사과하는 거 봤으면 좋겠지. 사과를 한다고 그 상처가 없어지니까? 아니죠. 상처는 안 없어지지만 마음은 조금 풀어지니까 그날을 기다리고 있죠.
It's been such a wonderful experience to have the film do its international premiere in Busan, in Korea, for many reasons. One, foremost, it's a story that, yes, we all know that there's so many survivors, that so many victims that came from Korea. So obviously, to have this film premiere here is very special for us, and also to have Gyeonok Harmony and Mi Hang Yoon to join us for the premiere is also very important. Also, I think that because the stories that come out in Korea about the survivors is very one-dimensional in many ways. We always see them in the forefront demonstrating and seeing how hard they work. But I feel like with our film, we really allow the audience, the Korean audience that know the story really well, another perspective on really what is it to be a survivor at the age of 80, 90 years old, and demonstrating really the actual, like, when there's no one around, when the cameras are all gone and the crowds are gone and they're at home, or they're traveling from plane to plane, country to country, just to have their stories heard. I think it's really important that the Korean audience also sees this other side of the story as well, and also sees the other side of the stories that this is not just in Korea, that there's survivors in China, in the Philippines, all across Asia as well. So I think that's really important when sharing this story, especially to the Korean audience.
How did you start this project though?
I started back in 2009, and I was invited to document a study tour that was going across China by the Alpha Education. It's based out of Canada. And that's when I met survivors in conference rooms in China. And then that's when I actually went to the Wednesday demonstration. And I was like in the crowd, and I watched like all these grandmothers, these harmonies demonstrating. And one of the harmonies that was there, it was Gyeonok Harmony. Back then, obviously, she was very, health-wise, she was very different. She was very much quite vocal and had a lot of strength as well back then. So one thing led to another. After the study tour, I couldn't couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop. I wanted to learn more because it was the first time that I heard about this. So you have to understand, in North America and Canada, we don't know anything about this history. And my parents never really talked about it. So it's quite frustrating to know that there are women still fighting for this, and at their age, when they should be in peace and they should be living their lives, you know, in peace and such, that they can't, that they still are fighting. So it is, I believe, our responsibility to tell this story, especially for me as a Chinese Canadian, to bring this to an international community is very important to me. And I believe with this film, we've made it quite universal so that people don't just see this as Asian issue, history issue. This is very much a contemporary issue of what's going on in our world today. These grandmothers are really just heroes for us, you know, to learn from.
Even though you just mentioned that the universal things, but actually, it's obvious. I mean, the reactions when you had a like screening in Canada, have a screening here.
Yeah.
But the reaction is quite different.
It's different. It's a different reaction because in Canada, so Gilwuna Carmody came with us also to Canada to actually premiere the film, world premiere the film there. The Canadian audience, they react differently because this is something completely new to them. Never heard about this. There's not much news around it in Canada, so the immediate reaction is quite shocking, you know. But then after that, they relate to them. They see a connection between themselves and these grandmothers, these women, and the stories of their family. In Korea, the audience already knows of this history. You know, they see it all over the news. And so I feel like it's a deeper layer. It's a deeper, like, really sinks in into the heart of because it's like, you already know how hard they struggle, how hard they work, but this is really going into the depth of like emotional impact, you know, because we're humanizing their story. We don't put archival footage in, you know, it's really much stories told through their mouth firsthand, you know, and we're just there to support that.
So she attended the first screening in Canada.
In Canada, it was apparently the first time she's been to watch a movie in a theater. And the first movie she watched was
all the foreigners.
That film. I'm not sure if she remembers what it was like in Canada. If you could ask her.
It's quite long trip though, like in Toronto.
It is a very long trip.
16 hours.
16-hour trip. She came all the way down, and it was so powerful for her to be in the audience and to help us introduce the film, you know. And again, she has a spirit. Her spirit is very, you know, it's very strong, but it's undeniable, you know, health is an issue. She is, you know, getting much older. And when I watch her watch the movie and I see her face light up, it's because, you know, these are memories also for her to remember that her time, you know, in this activism world, in this world of fighting for justice, she remembers how strong she is and her own story, you know? So I think that's also really important.
Just last question. Actually, I'm not saying that this is kind of, you know, gender issue or the female issue or something, but it's pretty interesting, like, you know, you and the producer, female, from like a Korean Canadian, right? And then the Mary, and it's the story about her and one in China and like it's like a female in the community there.
You know, it is very like, it is very special how this film got to be made. After doing some initial research and development, I brought the footage over to Anita Lee, who is a Korean Canadian producer in Canada, and this is a story that she's always known. And I know that she's had a passion to tell this story as well. And so when she saw the footage, she immediately resonated with her very strongly, very deeply. And when we started working together, again, it was like, who do we want to edit this film? And you know what? The first person we thought about was it would be amazing if Mary Stevens, also a Canadian, Chinese Canadian, that can be able to edit this film. And so we all came together. We also had a female amazing composer, Leslie Barber, also on board this film. And if it wasn't me filming, we had another DP named Iris Ning, a Chinese Canadian, also filming this project. And again, all the people that are really active with this issue are all women, really strong women that have, taken on this issue together. So I do believe there is a power of the women's gaze to make this film, the women's sense and the nuances that we bring to have the story told. And I don't think that it hasn't been done, especially specifically for this issue. But I think that's what makes this film so powerful, is that it's multiple generations of Asian women coming together, playing all key roles to tell this story, but all really being led by all the grandmothers.